What's going on, guys? Sticks here with the Token Minorities, bringing you week 1 of season 2, I believe, of the APA Academy, and this week we are up against Tony and his Buffalo Drills. And before I get into the team, just a reminder that if you guys like this video, please leave a like, drop a comment, click that subscribe button as it helps us out a ton, and let's do more cool stuff for you guys. And also check out Tony's channel, that will be linked in the description below, where he will have his side of the battle up there. But yeah, anyway, on to the team. And also you might notice a little bit of a difference in quality of the audio anyway. That's because I just got a new Yeti and I'm still ironing out the kinks, trying to figure out what's the best gain, where I should place it, what type of volume adjustment I need to do. So please bear with me if it's not ideal at first. I am definitely tinkering with it as I go, but just I kind of was of the idea that screw it, let's just do it live and we can adjust as we go along. So yeah, apologize in advance if this doesn't turn out as high a quality as my other narrations, although you can hardly call those high quality. But either way, just know that there is a process being done in order to make them a higher quality in and of themselves. But yeah, so the team that we are up against, Tony, it has a team of Lugia, Ash Greninja, Mega Charizard X, Florges, Milotic, Snorlax, Hitmontop, Registeel, Rotom, Rhydon, Gourgeist, and Azelf, with Azelf, Gourgeist, and Rotom being his Z users. So all in all, I'm not really thinking that Z is going to play a huge part in this game, particularly because I'm not bringing any Z moves at all. So just having, Rotom being a Z, Rotom would be bulky if anything. Azelf maybe, but Azelf doesn't have the best matchup overall. Yeah, it can do some work, because my team definitely, the team that I'm bringing can have Azelf put in some work against it. But I don't know, I just don't think that Azelf is one of the best 6 mons that he can bring, so I'm not anticipating Z moves playing a huge part in this game. But overall, he has two things that I'm worried about. He has the Ash Greninja and the Mega Charizard X. Those two are gigantic threats against me. And also the Lugia, if it was like a Calm Mind variant, could be very annoying for me to deal with as well. So the top 3 mons, if I can somehow deal with the offense from those guys, I should be able to, my Fat should be able to beat him pretty easily. The rest of my team should be able to take him on very, very well, and I should be able to pull out the win. But either way, the team that I am bringing, yes, you are seeing things correctly. In the first game of an Ubers League, I am bringing a 1-point Roselia, or Roselia. I'm probably just going to say Roselia as I mentioned in the draft builder. But yeah, Roselia is coming because it is a phenomenal check to Ash Gren, but I will get to that mon in a little bit. The first mon that I'm going to be bringing is a Dialga with Toxic, Roar, Thunderbolt, and Aura Sphere. This is a defensive Dialga to take on the likes of Ash Greninja, and Mega Charizard. Granted, it can't really hit Mega Charizard all that hard, but I do have Roar to be able to roar that thing out, because all I have to do is just prevent Mega Charizard from being able to get up too many boosts against me, and my team will be able to take him on just fine, because my team can take Mega Charizard at +1, different mons are able to take those hits very well, Dialga being one of them. I just had to prevent him from being able to get +2, because that's where it's an issue. And so Roar with my Dialga will be able to roar that thing out. It also is nice for Calm Mind Lugia, because I'm anticipating even if he's offensive Lugia does not have the best special attack. So even at +1 in Earth Power, while it's going to sting, isn't going to do insane amounts of damage. It's not going to knock me out. And it's still going to do upwards of 60, 70, I believe, from an offensive Lugia. But I'm anticipating he's going to be more of a bulky set, more of a bulky Calm Mind set at that. So a +1 Earth Power will hurt, but it's not the end of the world. And I still will be able to roar that thing out, or Toxic if he's not a sub variant. So that's what this Dialga is. Just kind of a pivot that I can go into to take on his bigger threats. It also can take a hit from Greninja depending on what type of set it is, and this is just kind of an overall pivot to the big 3 like I mentioned. Next up is going to be a defensive Mega Mawile with Play Rough, Knock Off, Stealth Rock, and Brick Break. And yes, offensive Mega Mawile can absolutely steamroll through his team, but in this case, even though my team is so heavily Trick Room based, I'm trying to mix things up right off the bat just so I don't become entirely predictable. And so I'm just going with a much more bulky offense-based build this week, and Mega Mawile is one of the mons that I am using in order to do that. With Play Rough, Knockoff covers his team very, very nicely, just getting rid of items. Play Rough covers his team, I believe everything except like Registeel neutrally, and that's what I have Brick Break for. And then Stealth Rock is really, really good against the Lugia and the Mega Charizard, which is why I'm going with the build that I'm going with, a defensive variant, so that at -1, a neutral Mega Charizard cannot OHKO me from full with Flare Blitz. Yeah, I know that's not going to be a hugely likely scenario, but given the bulk that I do have, it just makes Mega Mawile a better mon overall for taking on his team, and I do think that this can be a mon that's really, really scary, especially with the little bit of speed that I crept to creep things like maybe an uninvested Florges, an uninvested Registeel, and then a paralyzed Charizard. And you might be wondering, well, how am I going to get Mega Charizard paralyzed? That is with my Rotom Wash with Volt Switch, Hydro Pump, Foul Play, and Thunder Wave. This is my Charizard You're Not Gonna Sweep Me mon, and also his only way of stopping my momentum is his Rhydon, and so Rotom is able to be like, okay, well, you stop my Volt Switch, guess what, now you have to eat a Hydro Pump, and if you want to switch in something to Hydro Pump, well, be my guest. So yeah, Rotom is very, very good in this because Thunder Wave slows down his very speedy threats, like, the Mega Charizard, Lugia, and Greninja. I don't even know why I'm mentioning them all by name anymore. It's just kind of the big three at this point. So Rotom is definitely there for that. With Thunder Wave and Foul Play, should be able to take on a Mega Charizard 1v1, depending on the situation, and enough defense just because, again, this thing is designed to take on Mega Charizard, and if it couldn't do that, well, then I would be in a world of hurt. Next up is going to be a Choice Scarf Gengar with Trick, Thunderbolt, Sludge Bomb, and Shadow Ball. Really just, I only need Gengar here for its dual stab, but Thunderbolt was just kind of a throw-on move. I was like, you know what? It's either this or Destiny Bond, and I really don't like being choice locked into Destiny Bond because that is very easily taken advantage of. So I opted for Thunderbolt, and then Trick is nice just for crippling one of his bulkier things, like maybe a Snorlax, Lugia, Milotic that are becoming annoying. Any of those guys, Gengar can come in, trick those guys, give them a Choice Scarf, and then having them locked into one move makes them infinitely easier to deal with. And yeah, it's just very straightforward. It's a Choice Scarf Gengar, also good for revenge killing the Charizard if it gets up to +1 and I'm not able to get a T-Wave off on it. Next up is going to be perhaps the randomest Pokemon that I'm bringing this week in a Roselia, but this is my way of being like, okay, a Specs Ashgren is not going to beat me. Yeah, if he's like I definitely can see a physical variant coming, but if he is a special variant, Roselia will wall him completely. Also things like the Registeel, the Milotic, the Snorlax, the Hitmontop, like all of those guys, like his team is one that I can easily set up a Leech Seed against and just drain health, be a huge nuisance, and put my things like Mega Mawile and Zygarde in better positions to win the game late in the game. So that's what Roselia is for, just for a lot of team support. And yeah, if he brings Gourgeist, well, that is just free Toxic Spikes and also Sleep Powder, very easily spammable against his team. Yes, this does not actually touch Gourgeist. Giga Drain does not do jack, but Gourgeist really can't do a whole lot to me, and I can force him into a stall war of sorts where it's like, okay, well, Gourgeist versus Roselia, you're slowly chipping me down, kind of, but I am getting Toxic Spikes up, which will pay huge dividends against your team. And finally, I have a Thousand Arrows, Dragon Dance, Dragon Tail substitute Zygarde. Zygarde complete with the Yachi Berry. It was a choice between Yachi and Haban for the Charizard, but I ultimately opted for Yachi, just so I could have one more thing to take on Greninja, should that arise, because I'm thinking that, okay, I have 3 different things for Charizard and 1 extra thing that can revenge kill it. So Zygarde, in this case, oh, well, it looks like I got kicked off, but either way, Zygarde does have the ability to really sweep through his team just because of the Leech Seed support from Roselia. And then I'm kind of thinking that Lugia, I know it's more than likely going to be a bulky Calm Mind or a bulky 2 attacking variant and is not as likely to have Whirlwind, but just the option of being able to Dragon Dance into Dragon Tail in order to prevent Whirlwind is very, very nice. Substitute is great for potential Rogue Toxics, Rogue Will-O-Wisps, just gives Zygarde more opportunities to set up and just be a potential win con for me. So yeah, that is the team. It's very, very bulky with no Trick Room aspect. Do not anticipate that a whole lot this season because that's not going to happen, but let's just go ahead and hop right on over to the battle. Alrighty, here we are in the battle, and the first thing I'm noticing is that there is no Milotic, surprisingly enough, and in fact there is a Florges in its place. So I mean, other than that, he brought the mons I was expecting. I mean, the big three, of course he was going to bring. Snorlax was kind of a given as well. Registeel was a mon that I figured he'd bring just for rocks, if nothing else, because other than Registeel, his only rocker is Rhydon or Azelf, both of whom I feel like have worse matchups than the Registeel. But that Florges there, so I'm like, okay, that Florges probably has defog considering he has Lugia and Charizard. So yeah, I'm going to have to look out for that, but I'm going to lead off with my Rotom as that's my dedicated lead to take on whatever he wants to lead off with, and let's just go ahead and get right on into the battle. So like I said, Rotom is going to be my lead of choice as there is really nothing that he can counter lead that Rotom does not put me in a beneficial position, and lo and behold, he ends up leading with his Charizard, which is honestly, I mean, Rotom is exactly what I want to have in against the Charizard anyway, so this works out beautifully for me. And now, I wanted to just click Volt Switch or just click T-Wave right off the bat, but I figured that Hydro Pump was the safest play, as it would hit Charizard for over half. I could gauge what type of damage it would do to the Charizard, and then on the following turn, if he decided to Dragon Dance or whatever, I could just go for a T-Wave. Unfortunately, he goes into his Registeel, and that damage does reveal that this Registeel is completely Spadef, so I am going to go ahead and Volt Switch on out, and I had a couple options. I could go into my Roselia to get up Spike, start spreading some Leech Seed, but I figured in this situation that getting up rocks, especially against the Lugia and the Charizard, was much more beneficial. So I'm going to go straight into my Mega Mawile, and honestly not Mega Evolve right off the bat. I kind of want to maintain my Intimidate for later, just in case I need that for like switching into Snorlax or something like that. And so I will get up the Stealth Rock as he goes for the Earthquake, and this is going to do a good chunk, especially because I'm not Mega Mawile at this current time in the game, but still, that doesn't do a whole heck of a lot. Registeel is slowly regaining HP, and so that's going to be a little bit annoying to deal with. But now, I could knock off into Brick Break. That will not be a 2-hit KO, so I decide that at this point, because I have the Stealth Rock up, I'm going to go straight into my Roselia, and then start putting pressure on his team, because he has absolutely nothing that can switch into a Leech Seed. Leech Seed is going to be insanely annoying for him to try to deal with, and I can start chipping down the Registeel in the process. Now, he is going to switch out his Registeel and go straight into his Florges, which is like, well, okay, that just gives me a free Leech Seed and maybe some spikes against you. So I go for the Sleep Powder, and unfortunately I miss. And now this Florges doesn't have Lefty, so I'm wondering what is it, and he has the Defog, so that really sucks, as I would have liked to have slept the Florges on the switch so that I could have taken advantage of it by getting a free switch into something else. Maybe even my Gengar, because the Stealth Rock was up, but unfortunately, because the Florges came in and was able to dodge the Sleep Powder, he is able to get rid of those rocks, and that puts me in a much worse position. Like, had I gotten that Sleep Powder, I would have been in an absolutely amazing position. But now that I have the Leech Seed up on the Florges, I'm going to go straight for the Sleep Powder as the Snorlax comes in, and I miss another one. So that sucks as well, because it would have been nice to get a sleep on the Snorlax coming in, because now Snorlax is going to have an immediate burnt turn of sleep. Like, he's not even going to, like, he doesn't have to burn a turn waiting. So basically, okay, what I was trying to say is Snorlax getting slept on the incoming meant that he would have to burn a turn immediately, meaning that Leech Seed was free, whereas now he's able to burn 2 turns of sleep as I'm able to get him asleep and go for the Leech Seed. And so now he's likely to wake up on this incoming turn, but that being said, I still have my Mawile that is at a good amount of HP. I have Leech Seed up on the Snorlax. I still have the Intimidate, which is going to very much come in handy, as it will allow me to take any hit from the Snorlax, as fortunately for me, he stays asleep. So I mean, I guess a little bit of justice for the 2 missed Sleep Powders, as that Leech Seed from the Snorlax is going to put my Mawile at a very high amount of HP, and at this point I am just not messing around. I am immediately going to go straight for the Stealth Rock once again, because I want to get those rocks up, and they are 100% a priority in this game. Like, getting Stealth Rocks up and keeping them up for the likes of his Lugia, his Charizard, and even his Greninja to a lesser extent is very, very important. Makes a good switch, goes into his Charizard right here as I do get the Stealth Rock up, but, I mean, again, Mawile is at a high amount of HP. I'm going to pull the switch back into my Rotom, as I have zero reason not to, as he makes a good switch on his end and goes into Florges, takes some rocks. But now with my Rotom in, I will just be able to go for the Volt Switch once again, and now I'm actually just going to, like, this is where the bulk of my team really comes into play, because I'm just going to start taking advantage of the fact that he really can't do a whole lot to me while he's being as passive as he is. So I'm just going to go straight into my Mawile, as I know he's probably going to defog, as he ends up doing it just that, and this gives me another opportunity to go for Stealth Rock. Because at this point, it's just kind of a rinse and repeat. Like, okay, I get up rocks, he goes into his Charizard, I go into my Rotom, he defogs, like all of that good stuff. If I'm able to continually keep rocks up, I'm chipping the Florges down, and if we keep going with that exchange, I will come out on top. He does finally switch things up, goes into his Lugia, and I want to scout out what type of set this Lugia is. No sense in losing my Mega Mawile to like a Specs Earth Power this early in the game. So I'm going to pull the switch to my Dialga, who is my initial Lugia switch-in. As he goes for the Earth Power, that's going to do a nice chunk, but does end up revealing that this Lugia is in fact uninvested. So I'm like, okay, this is a bulky Lugia. He has Earth Power, he's going to have Roost, and now it's just a matter of what his last two moves are. He's going to have one of either Calm Mind, or he's going to have one of not Calm Mind. He's going to have one of Ice Beam or Psychic. That's just a given. Unfortunately, I roar him into his Florges, which was the one thing I didn't want to roar him into, because I mean that's just an immediate free defog. So I was kind of like, ugh, well, this kind of sucks. So I'm going to go for the Toxic there. But basically, I just need to figure out what this Lugia set is. I didn't go for the Toxic on it right off the bat, because just in case he was like a sub variant and try to go for a sub on my Dialga, thinking that his sub could take like a Flash Cannon or a Dragon Pulse, and he goes into his Registeel, and even though he does technically get me, I'm completely okay with this exchange, because the longer my Dialga is in, the more HP it is getting back. And he actually pulls the switch right back out into his Florges. He was definitely scouting for the Flash Cannon at that point, and we see why he ended up scouting with his Florges, like switching that out just to switch it back in, because he does activate his Pinch Berry, as I am going to go for the Aura Sphere, as I was staying in on the Registeel, and that's going to do jack all to the Florges. Actually does more than I was expecting, to be completely honest, but again, I'm recovering up a good amount of HP with leftovers each turn. So I mean, this is a beneficial situation for me. Now I'm going to go straight for the Toxic, put this Florges on a timer, make sure that it is slowly being worn down, not just with Stealth Rock's chip, but with Toxic chip as well, in addition to the Volt Switch from Rotom. So basically, just the sooner I can get rid of Florges, the sooner my rocks will be here to stay, and the much better position I will end up being in. So now I'm going to switch out my Dialga right back into my Mega Mawile, as if he defogs, cool, I can get my rocks right back up. Otherwise, it's not... I mean, otherwise, like, if you went for Moonblast, cool, that wasn't going to do a whole lot to my Mega Mawile anyway, and now with the Florges, I mean, the Florges gets its wish, cool, but it is getting worn down with Toxic. He can't stay in because, I mean, he doesn't want the Toxic racking up, and Mega Mawile could very easily have Iron Head in this situation. But now I'm just going to get my rocks right back up, as he's going to go into his Registeel, as I am going to be able to get the Stealth Rock up. And at this point, I could switch around again, try to pull more with the Roselia, just kind of use that thing as just a general annoyance, but that really wouldn't make any progress towards winning the game. That would just kind of be an annoyance tactic. So at this point, I'm like, whatever. 2 Earthquakes is not going to knock me out. I'm going to go straight for the knockoff into Brick Break to try to take out this Registeel as he goes for the Seismic Toss. I mean, that's fine, as I know Earthquake into Seismic Toss, or I know no attack will be able to knock me out this turn, as the Brick Break will be an easy 2-hit KO from there, as he gets his own rocks up. But I mean, considering he's more pressured to defog than I am, him getting rocks up is not that big of a deal. If anything, it's better that he got rocks up instead of attacking my Mega Mawile, because my Mawile will be at a higher amount of HP that hopefully I will be able to take advantage of later in the game. Now he goes into his Greninja, takes some rocks damage, and I'm like, okay, Mega Mawile still has plenty of use. I definitely want to keep this around, as he's going to go into his Florges again to try to defog, as he actually ends up just pulling the straight double switch. So I was like, ooh, that was a ballsy move. But either way, I just pulled the switch straight into my Dialga as just kind of a middle ground between, okay, is this a special Greninja? Is this a physical Greninja? Because once I figure out if it's physical or special, I can go into my corresponding switch-ins. Dialga was just kind of okay, I can take one hit and pivot from there. So yeah, I mean, that's what ends up happening. Florges is in. Dialga, I mean, ultimately net does not end up losing any HP at all. And this will allow me to go straight back in to my Mega Mawile, as this Florges will go for the Aromatherapy, as it turns out. And so I was like, that's an interesting play, going for the Aromatherapy. But I mean, it does cure him of his poison. Snorlax does wake up. Snorlax is going to wake up on the following turn anyway. And at this point, I go straight for the Play Rough, because I was like, okay, this will put Florges at a low amount of health. I can play the Stealth Rock Mind Games later in the game. This won't quite knock it out, but turns out it actually just straight up knocks out Florges. So I was like, well, I mean, Mega Mawile, turns out you're a little bit too strong. So that ended up working out-ish for me, because, I mean, I got rid of the Florges, so now I'm up 6-4, and at this point, because I know that the Lugia is uninvested, I could just go straight into my Roselia and try to just, like, kind of stall out the game a little bit, because, I mean, I definitely have the advantage at this point, but I'm going to go straight into my Rotom, as he's going more than likely for the Earth Power, as he does, and this will just allow me to go straight for the Volt Switch or the Hydro Pump. Just basically it puts me in a better position, as he does end up Toxicking my Rotom. So this is just definitely a bulky Lugia. It is not Calm Mind, as Thunder Wave will be nice for, I mean, not only paralyzing it, but making it slower than my Mega Mawile potentially late in the game, because I know that this is a bulky Lugia, so I will be able to outspeed that thing and go for a knockoff later if I need to. Now I'm just going to Volt Switch out, as he does get the Toxic off on me. That's going to be a little bit annoying, but isn't the end of the world. Now I'm going to go straight into my Mega Mawile, as I'm thinking he's just going to go for like a Psychic, as he does end up revealing that his second attack is Ice Beam. So his full moveset, if it's not Roost, I will be absolutely shocked, but his moveset is Ice Beam, Earth Power, Toxic, and Roost, so just a very bulky Lugia with my Mega Mawile in and the Lugia paired. This gives me a perfect opportunity to go straight for the Stealth Rock, as he does pull the switch into his Charizard. I mean, there was no two ways about it. Charizard had to come in there, or it would have been in a position where it would have come in on 50% because of the Stealth Rock. So he makes the good play, and at this point, I'm actually going to leave my Mega Mawile in on this Mega Charizard, just because I'm thinking, okay, if he knocks me out, well, that's fine for me. I can just go into my Gengar and cause him problems. If he goes for the Dragon Dance, he has to go for that right away, and I can get a very hard hit with Play Rough, as that's actually exactly what happens, and I get a ton of damage off on his Mega Charizard. Now, wanting to save Mawile, because it can still knock off like a Berrylax, it can knock off Lugia, it still has a lot of utility. I'm going to sack off my Gengar. Maybe he goes for the Flare Blitz, takes a bunch of recoil, but turns out he has Earthquake, so I'm thinking that this is going to be like, it's either Dual Stab plus Earthquake, or it is Dragon and Ground coverage. So that's a little bit annoying to deal with, but nonetheless, I'm going to go straight into my Rotom and actually just start firing off the foul plays on this Charizard, as I should be able to beat it 1v1, but unfortunately, it turns out that this Charizard has Roost, and for whatever reason, I don't know why why that slipped my mind in the moment that Roost could be his play, but as you will see, the foul play does less than 50, and this is a very bulky Charizard. So at this point, I'm kind of like, oh crap, well, this is kind of bad. If he does end up stalling me out 1v1, then that is going to put me in a really, really bad position. So I'm going to go for the foul play a couple more times, just try to keep him low. But it was at this point in the game that I actually noticed that he was starting to take the full 99 seconds per turn. And I mean, there's like 20 minutes left in the game, and I really wasn't thinking a whole lot about it, just because, I mean, this is his play. My Rotom has revealed that it doesn't have anything in order to be able to truly pressure the Zard, where it has, I mean, I have to crit him in order to do more than 50%. I go for the Thunder Wave now, just to try to paralyze him, put him in a position where my Rotom can damage him enough so that Zygarde can come in on a +1 paralyzed Charizard and knock it out from there. And unfortunately I miss, which really sucks, but he does just end up going for the Roost this turn anyway, so ultimately it nets him like 10-15% at most. But I mean, yeah, his play right now is 1,000,000,000% to just continually Roost on my Rotom. He has no reason to go for a second Dragon Dance, as that would just cause my foul play to do even more, and with the crit potentially even knock him out. So I mean, I really wasn't thinking about him taking the whole 99 seconds at this point in the game, because I was like, whatever. I mean, like, this is the right play. It is definitely the right play with Charizard to go for Roost over and over on my Rotom. As he actually ends up getting full parried on that turn, I really, honestly, not sure what it would have been, like what he would have done that would have had any impact on the game whatsoever, because a +1 Dragon Claw wouldn't have knocked me out. And like if he had gone for a Dragon Dance, my foul play would have done even more. And so, it was more than likely he just went for like, if he went for a Dragon Claw, well, that would have just sped things up a little bit more. But as it stands, he did get paralyzed. I will be able to just continually go for foul play. And because of the speed that I'm running on Zygarde, this actually puts me in a really good position to where I can revenge this Charizard with 1,000 arrows. If it comes down to it. So, yeah, that miss definitely sucked. But, it's... Ultimately, maybe if I'd gotten a crit, it would have caused a better position. But nonetheless, my Rotom is going to come out of this 1v1 going for multiple foul plays with Charizard in range of 1,000 arrows from my Zygarde, and I'm actually looking in a really, really good position to finish off this game, because with the Charizard as low as it is, my Zygarde is looking incredible to be able to clean up this game, and that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to go straight into my Zygarde, and at this point there's what is it? There's I want to say there's 15 minutes left in the game or something like that, but I'm just going to go straight for the 1,000 arrows as I want to be able to knock out the Zard, as it is the most pressing threat. And he switches out into Lugia, and I was like, what the heck? Why is he switching out? Because if I was a banded set of Zygarde, that would have just potentially knocked out the Lugia in 2 hits. But then, as he takes another 99 seconds per turn, as I'm going to go straight to my Roselia, as I know, or as my Mawile, sorry, not my Roselia just yet, but I'm going with my Mega Mawile to try to knock off his lefties first. But as he's starting to take 99 seconds per turn more and more, I'm starting to realize that at this point, his game is going to be the timer stall. Now, I wasn't thinking of it at this point. I go for the knockoff and sack my Mawile to the Lugia because I'm going for the win. I'm not going for a timer stall, because if I was going for timer stall, I would have just gone into my Roselia, repeatedly gone for Leech Seeds against his Mons, and just made it so I was in a better position. But nah, I was more about going for the win, going for the actual killing all 6 of his Pokemon win, and Mawile coming in, sacking that off to get the knockoff on the Lugia put me in a much better position. So now, with his lefties knocked off, being parried, and with the Leech Seed up, I'm like, okay, this is Zygarde's time. Zygarde has to come in, and it has to be able to set up and knock out this Lugia. And at this point, I think there was 10 or so minutes left in the game at this point. I was like, whatever, 10 minutes, I have more than enough time. Lugia is not going to be able to do crap to me. I can set up all day long, and I will be able to very easily clean up this game, as I still even have my Yachi Berry, to where this Lugia isn't going to be able to do much of anything. So I'm going to set up my first Dragon Dance, as Leech Seed is going to heal up any damage he wants to do. Even though he has Ice Beam, it's not going to do anything. And he actually goes to the Earth Power, I guess. The only reason that I think he would go for Earth Power is if he wasn't trying to activate the weakness policy, but I don't know, I was kind of confused by that, because as you will see this coming turn, he ends up going for Ice Beam as I get a second Dragon Dance. Now, I have to go for 3 Dragon Dances at this point in order to be doing over 50% combined with 1,000 arrows plus Leech Seed. That's just how bulky Lugia is, and that is how inherently weak Zygarde is. But he ends up going for the Ice Beam, and with the Yachi Berry, that really does not do a whole lot. That does 60 damage, and as you can see, the Leech Seed will actually put me in... will almost heal me back up to about half of what he did. So, Yachi Berry is keeping me in a very good position. 2 more Ice Beams will not knock me out with the combination of Power Construct and Leech Seed. So I'm in a great spot. I get my 3rd DD as he does get parried finally. It would have been nicer earlier on the Mawile so that I could have gone for multiple knockoffs, but nonetheless, here we are in a situation where he is taking the full 99 seconds per turn. Lugia cannot do anything in order to beat me, and at this point I win. There's nothing he can do to knock me out. 5 critical hit Water Shurikens from a Specs Greninja cannot even knock me out from full at this point. So, he has to go for an Ice Beam into crit from Greninja in order to actually win the game. But it's abundantly clear that he's not bothering with that actually winning the game. He is just going for the timer stall. And as I said, Zygarde has the guaranteed win because he has nothing he can do. With being +3/+3, he can't even crit his way out. He has to freeze with Lugia at this point, but he isn't even going for that. Now, at this point, I was like, okay, Lugia's low. I have one more turn. I got a low roll there, and I was like, oh my gosh, this sucks. So Lugia is going to come up back to right around half, but then Leech Seed is going to bring it slightly below half, and this is where it all comes down. So at this point in the game, I have a single turn left. I have one turn left. I have to knock something out of his, or I will lose the game, even though I have the guaranteed win. That's just the unfortunate situation with Timer. Goes into Snorlax, and I was like, oh no, this is going to live. This is going to suck. Like, I have the guaranteed win, but I'm going to lose to Timer. But Zygarde, freaking channeling the Mamba mentality, comes through, knocks out the Snorlax, and we are able to win. Now, what really sucks is that, I mean, this is a 3-0 win. Like, no two ways about it. This is a 3-0 win. Like, his Greninja can't do crap to me. His Lugia dies. His Charizard dies. Like, it's a 3-0 win, but because he ended up timer stalling me, then, yeah, I mean, it's ultimately a 0-0 win. So, I mean, that sucks that timer is such a played for mechanic in Wi-Fi. I mean, that's kind of why I dislike Wi-Fi, just because, well, in addition to having less information at your disposal, such as the damage calcs and stuff like that, strategies like timer stall are really something that I cannot get behind, and unfortunately, because of the flawed timer, he was able to turn what was a guaranteed 3-0 loss into a 0-0 loss, and potentially even a win if I had maybe gotten like a min roll or something with my Zygarde. But nonetheless, we are able to come through in that game. So I hope you guys enjoyed watching. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff, and this is Styx signing out. Why not? See you guys.